Good afternoon, CET 116 students. I'm back to you again live from my video feed at home. I wish it was here in Hawaii, but it's not. Um, Actually, I'm going to continue with you guys on creating a subdivision. This next series is going to be using Civil 3D, and I do realize each of you won't get a chance to practice this, but I do want you to see the process of using Civil 3D because there are some great features that go along with this. Now, this is, again, just for Civil 3D, but bear in mind there are all sorts of other softwares that do this out there. My opinion, I think Civil 3D is one of the best out there, but I just wanted to share that with you guys as we move through. One of the things we did at the last two videos, one was to try to get a feel for spatial relationships and size relationships. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to take those relationships, those spatial relationships we talked about in the last video, and actually create lots from them. If you remember the last video, we actually took that spatial relationship and we created a roadway center line, and then we used an alignment command to go through and align the center line of the road. So if you'll allow me here, I'm going to I've opened up the Civil 3D drawing from where we were last time, and some of you may recognize this again to see where we were at. And if you notice right here, you'll see that there is our roadway alignment. If you remember, we chose to put a tangent line here, a straight line here, a straight line here. We moved this line here a little bit so that we could make sure that it fit accordingly. And what we actually did is we created a roadway that began on this line and ended on this existing roadway right here. Again, remember these cyan lines right here really were designed to give us a relationship of size. Also, if you remember, we came over here, we made our parcels over here, and our parcels had some distances attached with them so that we could see what exactly a 2-acre lot was, square 2-acre lot was, and what exactly a 1 square acre lot would be, and how that would in fact fit along here. Now, we would have to know the subdivision criterion here. In this situation, I am going to tell you that our client has decided that he wanted 1 and 2-acre lots, or something there in between, 1 being a minimum, 2 being a maximum. So therefore, we're going to use that as our design criteria. Okay, so now what I'm going to start out by doing is coming over to our roadway, and this was our center line of our roadway. Now, this is going to be my main thoroughfare through my subdivision. So I know based upon the city standards that I need to have a 80-foot wide roadway. That's just based upon what they say for a main roadway. So I'm going to choose this center line now, and what I'm going to do here in our planning purposes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the offset command. This is just the standard AutoCAD offset command. Sorry, you have to spell it correct. Okay, now that I've offset it, I put it in there. Now I want to give it the offset distance. In this situation, since this line right here is the center line of the roadway, I'm going to offset half the 80-foot width, or 40 foot. So my roadway width is going to be 40, or my offset distance is 40. And I'm going to start by clicking here and offsetting to this side, clicking here and offsetting to this side. Now, what's deceiving here is you'll see that there's white lines in these white lines, but those white lines actually are taking my center line roadway, as you can see, and paralleling and making it off of right there. So I know that I do have my offset lines at 40 foot each side of that center line, and it goes all the way through where it began and ended. Now, one of the things I want to make sure and do is I want to make sure that my right-of-way actually ends on my right-of-way of this existing road. So I'm going to use the trim command to clean up my project here. So first thing I'm going to do is escape, get back out of my command, and I'm going to go into trim. Using the trim command, I'm going to come in here, click on the line in which I want to trim to, and then I'm going to cut right there. cut right there. Oh, let's see, I think I just needed to do, I want to do another thing right here. I want to make sure and take my, that green line, and I want to extend it a little bit out to make sure that I have it a little bit past. I'm going to take the same way up here on, and this line right here, I want to take it and make sure that I extend it a little bit past so that I know that I'm actually trimming everything up. So now, I'm sorry, I needed to, I did not trim that the first time. So here I'm going to try it again. I didn't hit an enter in between there. So I hit trim. Again, this is my cutting edge or my cutting line of where I'm going to cut to. I hit an enter. Now it takes the objects that I want to trim, and I want to trim this and that. I want to come down here on the other end, and I want to trim this right here. As you can see now, I do have my right-of-ways trimmed out to where the right-of-way of this line is right now. So here's my objective today. I would like to take this space that is right up in here, and I want to convert that space into lots. So that's actually what I'm going to call in my lot block 1 of my subdivision, and I want to put these up in here. So I'm going to start out by doing that using the command inside Civil 3D called parcel. We're going to use the parcels to create this. The first thing to do in creating a parcel, though, is, and there are multiple ways to do this, and I do recommend that if you are interested in doing this, you use Google out there, use YouTube videos. There are a lot of experts out there that do this. Autodesk has some outstanding videos out there that will be able to help you do this along the way. You're just going to see my opinion on how I would go about doing this in our particular situation. I'm going to start out by saying I want to figure out what sort of spatial relationships or sizes I have along here, and then I'm going to go ahead and use that as my tool to cut this out. I do want to tell you I'm going to stop these videos. I'm going to stop the videos at about 10 minutes, so I may be starting up a next video if I'm approaching that 10-minute. Currently, I'm at the 7-minute mark. The reason for that is the longer YouTube videos are a little bit difficult to upload within the software. Okay, so I am now going to start out by creating a new layer. The reason for this layer is I want to create a layer that I can actually create my parcel size with. So my new layer right there, I'm going to call this block 1, and I'm going to choose to turn that to a different color out here, just so that I can find that for later. So I just created a lot called block 1. I'll explain to you why we're going to do that here in a second. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start out, and I want to define this property out here. Now I have a bunch of other lines. These were my what I call construction lines and my contour lines. You can choose to turn some of those off if you would, to make this process a little bit less cumbersome because you don't have all those overlapping lines. But in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and leave them on so that you can see where we're working from here. So now what I'm going to do is I want to create a parcel around the entire big parcel. So I'm going to start out by doing that by identifying this along here. One of the things I do want to do, if you remember in our last video, I did go in and turn my O-snaps off, but I want to go back sure and make sure that my O-snaps are on. They are. It's endpoint, midpoint, center, intersection, and extension. That should be enough to get me along the way, but I did want to make sure that my object snaps were on. Now I'm going to start out by coming up here, and I'm going to start out by creating a P line. Using the polyline command, I'm going to click right there, type in polyline, and I will start there. It says enter the start point. My start point right now at my polyline is I'm going to choose right here on the end of this road, this right there, and I'm going to start right there. Now, if you'll notice down in my bottom line here, when I go into the polyline command, I have some options: arc, half width, length, undo width. I want to start out with width, and I want to give my polyline some thickness just so I can differentiate between it. So I'm going to hit W for width. It asked me for my starting width. I'm going to say about 3 feet. Now remember, we're using the scale of the drawing scale, so it's about a 3-foot thick line. It asked me for the starting width of the line and the ending width of the line. I also want to choose the 3-foot for the ending width also. So I click that. Now notice my line is much bolder here, but I'm going to come along here and I'm going to say the next point I want to go to is right there where the road is. Now I'm doing a polyline. Remember what a polyline is a continuous line. And I'm going to come here until I get up to where that curve begins. Now I'm going to go into a curve. If you notice down here in my polyline, I have some options: arc, close, half width, length, undo width. I want to go to the arc piece of that, and I'm going to say arc. And the next thing I want to do is the automatic default right now is second point along the arc. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to follow my arc along until I get to the midpoint of the arc. Let's see. Yep, there's the midpoint of the arc. And now I'm going to go all the way through until the arc ends, which is right there. Now I want to be sure to go back to line. So if you notice, my commands down here at the bottom have changed from arc to angle. And notice one of them is line. So I want to go back to the line command. I'm going to come back in through here and do this. Now what I want to do is I want to run my polyline all the way up to here. I am going to then go across right here, and I know this is where I was going to start my other roadway, or my other roadway was going to come in here. I'm going to do that. Now, why did I choose to do that? Really, there really wasn't any in particular method except for the fact that I wanted to just end my lot right there. So I'm going to go out to there, and I am going to go up to this point right here, and I am going to go back to here. Remember, this is where I began. Oh no, I'm sorry. There's a bend in this data right here. If you notice up here, so I want to go to that bend right there, and here I want to go to right around in here. And if you'll notice, one of my options also in my polyline command is C for close. So I'm going to hit C for close out that particular lot. So I hit C and enter, and it closes my lot out completely. One of the reasons this is a very important step inside Civil 3D is that this command allows us, or the P-line command will allow us to keep one continuous parcel all the way around. The key thing to this is you want to make sure that the parcel closes. Make sure you don't leave it open, because if you leave it open, you do set yourself up for the possibility that your parcel will just never end, so therefore you wouldn't be able to get an acreage out of that. So now we've created a parcel, and this would be block 1. I'm going to end this video and be starting video 2 here in a second. Thank you for looking in right now, and be looking for the next piece of the video. Okay, I will be ending video now.